So Gauteng Premier Panyaza Lesufi has finally announced his executive cabinet following numerous delays. Yesterday, the DA in the province announced that it would not form part of the executive of the Gauteng government of provincial unity. The party says the offer it received from the ANC was unfair and unreasonable. Well, let's get some reaction to this. We are joined in studio by Gauteng Premier Panyaza Lesufi. Premier, a good morning to you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.
What does it feel like now to have that executive announced? And if you will, I mean, I imagine that it's quite a relief now that you've got the names out there and the departments out there. And also, if you will, while you answer that, what happens in the moments before those two postponements?
Well, thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate that. It's indeed a major relief, to be quite frank. It's very difficult to run almost 10 departments alone because those departments are really assisting the weakest of the weakest in our society, the elderly, NGOs, learners at school and other institutions that are very important, like hospitals and other government departments. So it was extremely difficult. So I'm relieved that we have done it. But obviously, the two postponements demonstrated one thing, our ability to try at all costs to ensure that this is a representative government, our ability to ensure that everyone that has a legitimate expectation to be part of this government is accommodated. Our ability to negotiate even in the last hour. I mean, regardless that we have arranged the press briefings to announce the results, when the negotiating team came to me and said, Premier, we don't think we are ready. I said, no, let's postpone. And I know it was something that was not sitting well with our citizens, but they need to bring everyone. It's very important. And I'm quite excited that we've done that. Literally every political party in that legislature, we have negotiated, discussed with them. And that is why we felt that it's unfortunate that the Democratic Alliance they didn't want to be part of this executive, but they're still in the legislature. We're still going to extend their hand to have them to chair some of the committees and ensure that we work together with everyone that is part of that institution. I
think one of the difficulties, of course, in the run-up to the announcement of this provincial cabinet is the issue of the numbers, right? You say that it's a difficult thing to set up a representative government when 1 million voters in Gauteng wanted to see the Democratic Alliance in that very government. I mean, is that something that you consider? What do you say to the 1 million voters in Gauteng that wanted to see the DA in that government?
And the DA is accommodated. We didn't, if we outrightly said we don't want the DA at all costs, I think your statement will hold water. We differed at the province, and we felt that those that crafted the statement of intent nationally must meet and guide us. So we wanted the team at National to assist us. And we went to National. Both the national leadership of the DA came and the national leadership of the ANC came. Even at that level, there was a deadlock. And it's a deadlock on something that was very unfortunate, just to say, that the DA feels that what was given to them was not good enough, whereas it's something that they presented to us. I was elected a premier on the basis of a document that was produced by the DA to say, we want you to be premier, we want to be a deputy speaker, and we also want somebody from the ANC to be a speaker, on condition to give us 3 MEC positions, and then we will provide 7 positions for the ANC and other political parties. And that's exactly what we did. The only problem became after they've presented that document to us and after we have elected the premier, the speaker and the deputy speaker, they came to say they're withdrawing the document. And that created, obviously, the situation that we're in. But we've crossed the river. Our view is that the door is not closed because we've got a special relationship with the DA at national level. We really believe that we will continue to have those particular discussions, but we can't hold government at ransom. We can't have government not functioning. We can't have people at hospitals not getting medication. We can't have doctors not being paid. We can't have teachers not being paid because that's where it was going. And that was going to be catastrophic. So we've established government with political parties that have signed the government of national unity. With Patriotic Alliance, the IFP, Rise Mzansi and DA. They still have a speaker, a deputy speaker in the legislature. There's no intention to remove her. If the DA remove her, that will be unfortunate, so that everyone should be part of this government.
Well, we spoke to Solim Simanga this morning, and you talk about the deputy speaker. This is what he had to say. Listen to this.
And therefore, the positions that we were seeking to get into were supposed to be complementary to each other. Therefore, there's no way that we will then allow a situation where we continue to have a deputy speaker that is not, going to have meaningful contributions. We were pairing that with a chair of chairs that was coming in with the other portfolios that we were going to get in terms of the oversight committees that would have been there. Therefore, there's no need for us to then continue having the deputy speaker, if we're not going to then follow it up with all the other things that we said we wanted to then introduce in that particular space. So Refilwe is not going to continue to be the deputy speaker in Gauteng, because this doesn't talk to what we were aiming to then achieve in this government.
That's unfortunate, deeply regrettable, I must be honest. As I said, we didn't want to close the door, and we're not going to close that door. We'll persuade. We have postponed the announcement twice because we valued the need to negotiate and persuade each other. So we will continue to persuade the Democratic Alliance, but if they feel the way they feel, we'll take it from there. But where we are, we really believe that everyone must be part. And we are relieved that even those political parties that have not signed Government of National Unity, they've demonstrated the commitment to work with us. There are parties that said, we don't want to be in the executive, but we'll chair committees and we'll support the Government of National Unity or the Government of Provincial Unity. So we've got a good representative of political parties to really continue. And this is unfortunate. That the Democratic Alliance feel that they will withdraw their representative in that government.
Well, if they're withdrawing their representative as deputy speaker in the legislature, one wonders what their next move could be in the provincial legislature. And perhaps we'll go down the numbers, really go through the numbers on the other side of this short break. We're in conversation with the Gauteng Premier Panyaza Lesufi, who last night announced the executive for the Gauteng province. Stay with us. We continue after this. Welcome back. Well, we continue our conversation with Gauteng Premier Panyaza Lesufi, who last night announced his executive, and that, of course, is the cabinet for the province of Gauteng. And one of the things to note is that it does exclude the Democratic Alliance, that we spoke to their provincial leader just under an hour ago. And one of the things that Solim Simanga said to us is that the party will be withdrawing its deputy speaker, Refilwe Ntsheke, from the provincial legislature. Now, here's where the real concern, I imagine, might be for the ANC after that announcement, is that if you look at the numbers of the seats that you've got in the provincial legislature without the Democratic Alliance, you may very well be sitting quite vulnerably. 28 seats for the ANC. If the Democratic Alliance, with its 22 seats, decided to perhaps work with the EFF and the MK party, they could pull together a 41. The MK party sitting on 8. The EFF is sitting on 11 points. So altogether, they could provide quite a big problem for you. I mean, what's the plan there?
Not necessarily. I mean, that's a scaremongering activity. We have spoken to all political parties, and I'm emphasizing that point. I mean, it will be naive out of us to think that we can establish government when we don't have something beyond 50%. We have spoken to literally every organization. Action SA, Freedom Front, MK, EFF, ACDP, PA. So all the political parties, only one political party that does not want to be part of this government, which is the DA. All other political parties, also on the basis that they've not entered into an agreement with them at national level, but they've demonstrated their willingness to work with us. Our national leadership met with the EFF, we met with the EFF at the province, and EFF produced a letter that they've stated their requirements. Our national leadership met with MK, we met with MK at the province, and they've stated their commitment on how they want to be part of this government. So any other person that wants to declare ourselves either as illegitimate or a minority government, they don't understand the arrangements that we've put. They are transparent, open. Each and every political party said we are part of this, but obviously we have to manage the dynamics that we find ourselves in politically. So it's only one party that have withdrawn, called the Democratic Alliance. And if we draw the Democratic Alliance, we've got almost 78% of voters that have voted in our province. That will be engaged on an item-to-item basis. For example, Bosa said, we don't want a formal arrangement with you as the ANC, but it depends on the item on the floor. If there's an item that we feel we'll support you. But if there's an item that we feel will not support you, we'll not support you. You go to Action SA. They say, we want a position of being an independent opposition, but we don't want to work with the DA. The DA stamped us at a moonshot. They left without inviting us. They left without telling us. They have their own grudges with the DA. But they say, give us a position of a committee, the Public Accounts Committee. Give us a committee to chair that. And on the basis of us chairing that particular committee, we will be in a position to determine how we support you. So there is a broad support across political parties. Only one party, and that particular party is the DA. And will not rest until we've persuaded the Democratic Party to be part of this institution. Let it be them as they're doing now, when they're rejecting position, they don't want to be part of this thing. But where we stand, we have a government that can run for the next 5 years.
You know, you emphasize that the Democratic Alliance is the one party that stepped away. And one thing that you can't deny is that what we've seen in these negotiations, even as you watch what's happening within the ANC, is you've seen that there are some within the ANC that are absolutely against the government of national unity, particularly the ANC having shared some power with the Democratic Alliance at national level, right? Some that say that the struggle for liberation, for instance, has been betrayed. Yesterday, you wore this T-shirt. Let's put that up on the screen. You wore a T-shirt yesterday that read, "Don't kill Chris Hani again."
And it will never happen.
What is the intention?
Chris Hani will never die again. And we might have been rejected by voters, but what Chris Hani stood for will always stand. We'll defend it, whatever it takes, in whatever moment. Even when we are trying to establish a government of national unity, we are paying a price for establishing that government. We are paying a price of being insulted, undermined, and bullied. But we are putting the interest of our country first. Imagine a country where doctors are not paid, a country where patients don't get medication, a country with no budget for its soldiers. We embraced ourselves to say, regardless of the limitation of the outcome, we will defend what Chris Hani stood for. But you go to negotiations and have other political parties that their mission is to kill the ANC. Their mission is to eliminate the ANC. The voters might have said what they've said, but to kill the ANC will never happen.
So you believe
as
that
long
at national
as we
level,
still stand, as long as some of us still breathe, as long as some of us are still members of the African National Congress, Chris Hani will never die again.
Premier, do you believe then that from a national level the ANC has betrayed the liberation?
Surely not. They've taken a stand that South Africans don't appreciate. A stand where we would have been in the opposition benches and allow all these other political parties to run this country. Imagine those political parties without the ANC. But we said, even if voters rejected us, we'll stand for what Chris Hani stood for. Even if voters have thrown us in the lion's den with some of this organization that hate transformation, some of this organization that still glorify an apartheid flag, some of the organization that still wants Oranje and other institutions. We said, for the sake of our citizens, for the sake of the poor, for the sake of the weaknesses, we'll dust ourselves and try to form a government of national unity. Regardless of that, we're being bullied, we're being insulted by political parties that have no credence whatever to build a non-racial transformative society. And if they think they can kill Chris Hani again, we are the last line to defend that, and it will never happen.
Let me ask you this. We spoke to Solim Simanga earlier, and I want to give you a right of reply to some of the things that he said, right, because I think that's only honorable. He said that your idea of having a Department of Environment in Gauteng is a joke. He used those words, saying that it's a joke to have this idea of a department that focuses on the cleanup of the province. What do you say to that? Before
a business is established in this country, there must be environmental impact studies. They've been delayed. And how many environmental impact studies that needed to establish jobs could not go through? Go to each and every informal settlement. It's dirty. Go to the middle of any CBD in our province. It's dirty. And this mandate runs with municipalities, but they've not executed. Our province, it's dirty, smelly, stinking. And if to clean it up is a joke, I don't know. I honestly don't know. But besides, we are living in a world of climate change. The climate has changed. We need to warn our citizens if there will be a storm. We need to warn our citizens if there will be a disaster. We need to warn our citizens, and we need to have the technology to warn people if something big is going to happen in our province. We need to link up with the National Department of Environment. We can't just leave that important aspect to chance. So if they don't see the importance of it, we see. There are many businesses that would have been established. There are many infrastructure that would have been established. But something called an environment impact study has delayed it. And people are unemployed. So we want to fast track and unlock that. And if they see that as a joke, it's unfortunate.
Tell me
but
about
I can't tolerate the department. You go to townships, I can't tolerate dirtiness. You know, it's so dirty. You go to some of our important parks, so dirty. Our rivers, unattended. You go to the Val Dam now, there's something that is destroying that Val Dam. Similar that destroyed the RTPS Dam. We need to prepare for those things. You can't just fold your arms and say something will be automatic and these things will go. You need a leader that can champion those changes.
I want to look at these departments. eGov, what do you want to do with that?
eGov is to modernize government. Wi-Fi and data is a new water and electricity. And people don't have to queue at our services. Education, for example, we have to modernize it. Our hospitals, you can't have somebody going to a hospital and be told there are no beds. When technology can allow, before you take your mother or your parent to a hospital, you can see whether that hospital has a bed or not. That's the kind of technology we need. Also to fight crime. We are putting CCTVs, we are putting all these particular things. So eGov is a very, very important government department that ensures that we are not hacked. We can protect our ICT system, and then we can modernize filing. I mean, how many people go to hospital, your file is missing? Yeah. When we can modernize that. How many people go to queue for medication? When we can modernize that and
modernize it, we should.
That's exactly.
Modernize it, we should. I don't think anyone can disagree with that. Let's take a look at this, though. So the DA in Gauteng says it remains committed to engaging with the ANC about the possible coalition in the province. This is what Msimanga had to say earlier.
We remain, available to engage and to make sure that, the voters' wishes in Gauteng is actually then respected. And that is of a government that shares power, or political parties that share power in government, and not just other political parties coming in and becoming vote voters, for the governing party. And I think yesterday was actually a testament of exactly what we were scared would happen. That, the ANC would want to then continue, as they have been controlling, in this instance, 98% of the budgets, 98% of the service delivery departments, and actually then meaning that all that they've given to other political parties is just going to be scraps of things that are not going to even have any kind of, impact in terms of changing the lives of the people of Gauteng.
So conversations can still happen. Premier, what would those look like?
The good thing that I've got good relationship with Soli. We meet. I can call him even after this and go and have some coffee or tea. So we'll continue to do that. It's very important. And it's not for political interest, but it's for the citizens of this country. And we're very committed to ensure that we bring them on. So we'll not get tired to bring them on back. But it's unfortunate the statement that they are uttering, that we wanted to take everything. We didn't. We responded to a document that they said they need 3 MECs. We have given them 3 MECs. We responded to a document that they want deputy speaker. We have given them deputy speaker. We responded to a document that they wanted to chair 6 committees. We are ready even today to give them 6 committees. The reason we have 7 MECs of the ANC is that the political parties that have signed government of provincial unity is 3. It's not because we are selfish. We want 7 MECs. The political parties that are in that legislature that have signed the government of provincial unity, there are 3. If there were 4, we'll give them the 4 position. Actually, there's the Freedom Front that have signed, but they said, we don't have a team or a person that is capable to be an MEC. We'll prefer to have 2 committees that we have chaired. We're going to give them those 2 committees, the Freedom Front. So it's not that we wanted everything for ourselves. We understand we didn't win elections. We understand we are the party that was preferred by more people in Gauteng, but we need to bring everyone, be inclusive, and deal with this thing. So it's encouraging now that the Democratic Alliance says we have not closed the door. I've said it yesterday. We have not closed the door. We will engage until we find each other. They might not be in the executive. There are many other roles that they can play, but we will want to ensure that we have government that can function, can protect the weak, and render services, but a government that can fight crime. I must be honest, if there's something that troubles me, is the level of crime in our province.
Let me ask you this, because we're running out of time, and I need to squeeze this one in. We spend a lot of time in this country talking about leadership and what happens at the top stratas. I want to talk about what happens to the everyday South African. Panyaza, for instance, the EPWP, young people that got the jobs through Nasi Spani. What happens to them in the civil administration?
We'll continue with that. It's an interim relief. We have never said it's a permanent relief. It's an interim relief to intervene. But Panyaza, we are reshaping them. We are repositioning them. They're going back to training now. They are going to military bases. We want them to be the first line of fighting crime. And we really believe at the right moment, when we have time, we will come back to explain their mandate. And that's why we've taken the function of fighting crime from a department to be in the office of the Premier. Because I want to lead that fight against crime. We can't be held hostage by criminals. We can't be scared to get out of our own houses at night. And we can't, when we are the economic hub of the country, the economy literally dies after 7 p.m. because people are scared to go out because of criminals or being hijacked or kidnapped. That must come to an end.
All right, Premier, it's been a pleasure speaking to you, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
We'll be watching the engagements as they take I suppose, the next leg with the Democratic Alliance and the ANC. Premier for Gauteng there, Panyaza Lesufi, speaking to us here on the AM Report.